Alright, hello everybody, this is Carrie, and right now we are going to do part 2 of my 2 days until surgery videos, talking about where my emotions at right as we're getting to Thailand. So in this video, I want to talk about how, if you remember back a few months ago, I made a video where I talked about how it is totally okay to be scared out of your wits about surgery, because I was definitely scared back then. So I want to talk about emotionally what it feels like now, only 2 days away from this permanent body-changing surgery, which is going to significantly alter my life, where I am emotionally, and what it's felt like in this lead up as I get closer and closer and have gone through more and more of the steps that have gotten me just like closer and closer and closer and closer to this goal that I've been working on since I was like 13 years old. So honestly, I have not been scared in the least for a long time now. I think it's something to do with how when I first booked the surgery, there was a bit of this feeling of, well, it's a transition, because for so long, you are in this mindset of, oh, I wish I could have this body, and I wish I didn't have to deal with this genital anatomy doing this, and it just solidifies itself in your head as this thing that you wish you could have. And then, for me, this happened when I booked the surgery date. There is a transitional period from it being this thing that you want that's floating out in the ether somewhere in the future, but it doesn't really feel real. Especially for someone like me, who for so long told myself, I can't get it, it's too expensive, I don't know if I'm really trans, just like holding myself back with doubts and sidetracks and trying to convince myself that I didn't need it all those years. And it's just something that happens when you're closeted for a long time. So going to that point where all of a sudden it was real, and you had to go from, well, that would be nice, but it's a fantasy, to, oh my God, 6 months from now, I am going to have a vagina. Once that transitional period happens, though, where you internalize that yes, it's real and yes, it's going to happen, I have not been scared anymore. It's weird, It's like, so I think it was a bit of a shock for me realizing, oh my God, it's real. But once that initial surprise wore off, which took a couple months, what happened is that, I just kind of settled back into my normal routine, which is just going to work every day, coming home every day, sleeping in the same bed, eating the same food, using the same kitchen, the same car, and all this other stuff. And, oh, hi, Mom.
Hi.
Mom has been wonderful and come with me. She is my surgery buddy. I'm just talking to my YouTube viewers about where my mindset has gone. So the deal is that once I actually got to that point where, yes, I had internalized that it's real, and basically, I just started going back about my daily life, and it's like, because I wasn't consciously thinking about it as much anymore, I was just able to, my genital dysphoria only popped up during the moments that it always popped up. Like, there'd be times where at work I would be sitting wrong, and certain parts would be shifting around, and I'd be sitting uncomfortably, and I would just be like, ugh, damn thing. And then in my mind, I'd realize, oh, hey, that's not going to be an issue after another 4 or 5 months. And, that became the dominant thing, is just being, noticing all of these little moments that I am consciously aware of my anatomy and it's bothering me, and realizing, yes, this issue is going to be corrected. It's funny, the less I thought about it, the more I remembered why I'm doing it, and all of the little things that having that dysphoria down there affects the way that I go about my life. And I started noticing that when I'm in public, I get very nervous, and there are 2 things, my genital anatomy, because I can feel what is down there and feel that it is different, and I've noticed that it makes me feel closed off, especially around other women, because subconsciously I can feel it and it makes me feel different. It makes me feel, I don't know if this makes any sense, but it makes me feel like a threat somehow. You know, it just, it's something that I feel like I have to hide, something that I feel like if anybody saw that, if anybody knew, you know, they wouldn't accept me anymore. And that's not the primary reason why I'm getting it, but it is something that I think about. You know, the primary reason is because, as I mentioned, phantom sensations and intimacy. And since we're talking about intimacy, right before I left, I had the biggest single confirmation of what I was doing, of anything. And I was waiting for the right time to talk about this, but last month I went to Cleveland's trans family group for the first time in about a year and a half. And when I was there, there were a ton of new people there that I'd never met before. There were a couple of the old guard, which is like, you know, the 40, 50-year-old trans women who make up the bulk of that group and most trans support groups. But the sheer diversity that was there this time was amazing. There were a lot of trans guys. There was a teenage trans girl, lucky. There were non-binary people there, you know, trans-masculine, trans-feminine, non-binary. It was just a melting pot of identities and ages, and it was wonderful. And right after that trans group, one of the trans guys, Jay, friend requested me on Facebook, and then, you know, I figured it was just, okay, well, I met somebody nice, and that's cool, we're going to be friends now. And 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, he messaged me, and he said, you know, Carrie, the entire time that you were at the meeting, I was crushing on you like crazy. And, you know, he said he couldn't, you know, he was like, I had to tell myself to stop looking at you because I was going to make you uncomfortable. And he asked me out on a date. And, you know, I completely was not expecting it, but there we go. So one day before I left, you know, I told him that we started talking back and forth, and, you know, we're going to have an official date once I get back. But he found out that I was spending the entire day doing nothing, just packing up my apartment. And so, you know, he offered to come help me because he didn't want to go 2 months without seeing me, and, you know, and just talking on Facebook and having never had an actual date. So we kind of had a half date, and that half date turned into something a bit better. Basically, you know, we watched a movie, and you know, we started snuggling, and, you know, we held each other's hands and kissed, and, you know, it was wonderful. And, well, certain things happen when I get close to people, certain things that are extremely uncomfortable for me, generally involving the engorgement of certain genital areas. And so the entire time that we were snuggling together, and the first time that I have had someone physically close to me in that intimate setting, didn't go any further than that. You know, we have to wait until we have an official date before anything else, obviously. But, you know, for the movie at least, and, you know, it was the first time that I've had somebody that close to me since my last relationship, which was like 4 years ago at this point, with my ex-girlfriend, Jenny. And, you know, Jenny was kind of like the last gasp where I was trying to be a guy. Basically, in high school, I had this in my mind, this mindset that, well, maybe this issue that I have with my gender is just because I'm in high school and I haven't really found myself yet. Maybe it's just because my male peers are kind of jerky at this age and they'll grow up. And so I reasoned, maybe once I get out of high school, maybe once I get through college and have a job and have a girlfriend and have, you know, like, maybe once I get my life together and everything is exactly what I thought that I wanted, maybe my dysphoria will go away and I'll be happy. And maybe this dysphoria is just because of some fundamental unhappiness that I have. Being with Jenny kind of disproved that. For a while, it seemed like everything was perfect. You know, I graduated college. I found a great job at the Cleveland Horseshoe Casino. I was paying my bills. I was living with Jenny at the time. You know, we were in a relationship. I seriously thought that we were going to get married at that point because we were very, very close and loved each other's company all the time. And yet the dysphoria was still there, and the dysphoria did not go away. And every single time that I was physically intimate with Jenny, I was imagining that I was her. You know, she constantly wanted me to basically be the guy of the relationship and be forthcoming and be the, well, aggressor, for lack of a better word. And she was like pushing me to be more intimate the entire time. And, you know, it's funny. Now I know the reason is because of this fundamental disconnect with my body, where what I want to happen in my head is fundamentally opposite of the actual anatomy that I have. Basically, it's hard to explain, but the feelings in my head that I get that I want from intimacy are of having a female body. When I am intimate with someone, the desires that I have is for somebody to run their hand down over a flat pubis, to play with, like, you know, the intricate bits down in there, and it's almost like this special thing that they get to explore and I want them to. And that kind of a thought just makes me go, I want that so much, where there's absolutely nothing in my head for my current anatomy. I don't really want anything done to it. I don't want people to touch it. It's just not a pleasurable thought for me or something that I want to have happen. And no matter how perfect everything should have been, and, you know, like, I was in an intimate relationship with Jenny, but I felt nothing. Every single time she turned the attention to me and wanted to make me feel good, I felt nothing. It just did nothing for me because, again, the wiring in my head of desire, of what I am supposed to want, is fundamentally opposed to the physical reality of my body. The entire time I was in a relationship with Jenny, I was experiencing intimacy through proxy. It's almost like when I touched her soft feminine skin and her female body, I could feel what it was like. That is where my head was going, is that I was imagining that I was her and that somebody was touching me that way. And that allowed me to feel it by proxy. And this is something that, unless you're trans, you probably haven't experienced, but that is the fundamental reason why I realized, you know, this is body dysphoria and that is what I am feeling. And so being close to Jay, I don't want to say intimate because, again, that sounds like we did it or something, which we didn't. We just, you know, kissed and cuddled. But once again, this is another thing, is that being physically close with Jenny and erections happened, I hated it. It just felt so ew. Like, when I am cuddling with someone, I want, you know, there's this feminine kind of attitude where you like want to smother them with your body. You know, you want to wrap your legs around them and hold them as close as you can, and again, feel their body flat against yours as close as it can be. I could not feel that because there's this body part in the way. And again, it's like a feeling of, again, my mental map does not include that body part. So it felt like there was this like thing in the way, poking the other person in the side, and I just did not want to be feeling that. I wanted their body to be flat against the front of mine. And these same kind of feelings happened again when I was with Jay and we were physically close. I was tucked at the time, and oh God, I was like freaking out. Oh, please don't let that happen. Please just let it stay tucked. Please no, because I just hate that feeling so much. And by the way, no, I was never abused or anything. This is just completely, Mom was worried about that at one point. No. You know, and again, it's like I don't have any aversion to intimacy. It's just I do not like that body part. So I constantly, you know, like, I can easily imagine what I want to be done with me with a female body, and it's like, yes. So, you know, that's kind of the deal with this, is being with Jay really reminded me, you know, I was kind of wondering, well, I don't know, that was 4 years ago, and I was still male externally at the time, so I don't know, maybe my feelings would be different now. Maybe there's some way that I don't need surgery. No, same feelings as ever. In fact, it only highlighted it because having everything else be feminine is such an amazing experience. You know, when a guy touches you and you're the one with soft skin and he wants to feel your soft skin, and, you know, you're the one with curves and he wants to feel your curves, and oh, that feels so good. Oh, that was amazing. But then again, there's that one body part that's like, damn it, that stupid thing. So that was kind of like the ultimate confirmation for me that I know exactly what I'm doing, and it is going to be a huge improvement in my quality of life. So honestly, I am not worried at all anymore. You know, I was already getting to the point where I wasn't really worried, specifically because, you know, after I made that like panicky video about how much I was freaking out, again, I started realizing all of the little ways that having that anatomy makes me feel different and makes me consciously aware that I have a body part that I don't connect with, and which to my own judgment of my own body doesn't feel female. This is the thing is with SRS, I'm also getting a trachea shave. Those are the two parts of my body that I noticed I tend to zone in on that make me feel like my body on a fundamental level is not female to my own judgment. And again, this is a personal judgment thing. This is me and how I feel about my own body. Other people can absolutely not have the surgery and still be female, because to them, it's okay for them to have a penis and still be female, because that is what they are comfortable with, and they are female, therefore, go figure. But for me, I have felt genital dysphoria constantly ever since I was 13 years old. It was one of the primary things that I focused on when I was a teenager in terms of what, by my own standards, would make my body female and what I wanted to happen. And so, again, it's just, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it's something that I absolutely need, and it's going to improve my quality of life significantly to not have to worry about those things anymore, and to not constantly have this physical sensation that makes me feel like my body is not mine. And something that constantly pops up, like randomly in the middle of work, or when I'm sitting and certain tucked parts move the wrong way, or being afraid when I'm playing volleyball that something's gonna slip, not just being able to put on a pair of volleyball shorts and a normal pair of panties and not freaking worry about it. And also, especially like wearing swimsuits, I get so jealous of girls and, you know, the flat front and how a bikini looks and how a swimsuit looks on them, and I can't do that because of my anatomy. There's just so many small little things that I know are going to be significantly improved by this. And again, as I looked in the mirror, I started realizing every single part of my body looks female except that part. So after the surgery, again, it's up to everyone's individual standards. You know, what people want their body to be is what is to them the body of their identity gender. To me, I need surgery before I will feel like my body is female, and before I feel like my body is fundamentally right and fundamentally matched to what my brain expects to be there. But anyway, the more I thought about it, the less worried I got about it. And now, honestly, especially after that date with Jay, where I realized, no, my convictions are exactly the same as they were 4 years ago, and even more so because now I know what part of the body being touched and feeling right is like. So imagine my entire body being like that instead of just like 80% of it, and then having this forbidden zone that I'm not comfortable with anyone touching. So yeah, getting through that mentally has definitely made this process a lot more exciting. You know, now it's not like, oh my God, is this going to be all right? Am I sure I know what I'm doing? And now it's just, yes, only 2 days left. Victory. Da, 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 da. All right, so yeah, I am very excited, and honestly now my mom's more worried than I am. She's like, my baby is going to be in surgery and they're only going to give me like a 5-minute call to tell me that you're alive, and she's freaking out. And in the meantime, I'm like, everything will be fine, everything will be fine, don't worry, this is going to be amazing, it's going to be rough during recovery, but everything will be great. So yeah. Anyway, that's where my moods have been. All the fear has been out of me for a long time now, and I have nothing but anticipation. I am not looking forward to recovery. I am not looking forward to dilation. I am really not looking forward to the flight back to America, because international flights that are like 18 hours already hurt enough. And so imagine doing an 18-hour flight sitting on a freshly healing surgical site. That's not going to be fun. But in terms of the results, in terms of my body being permanently altered in this way, I'm honestly not worried anymore. Once I get to the point where I am fully recovered and the final results are there, I'm not worried at all. You know, like, the more I've researched and the more I've thought about it and the more I've just lived my life and taken note of all of the little ways that my genital dysphoria impacts me, the less scared I've gotten and the more I realize I really need it. And there's been a couple times where, you know, I was afraid that surgery was going to be postponed because my blood tests weren't that, like, my white blood cell count was high. So Dr. Chenoweth was afraid, like, do you have a urinary tract infection or anything? And I actually had to get that tested when I came, and I was freaking out. I'm like, oh God, please don't let this affect my surgery date. Please don't let it. No, no. And I actually like started crying because I was so terrified that I wasn't going to be able to get it after all this time and all this sacrifice and all this saving and all this suffering and all these tears over the years, thinking that I was never going to get this thing that I've wanted for so long. So yeah, that's what's been going on. Anyway, I've talked enough. I am so looking forward to this, and well, here's hoping that it'll be everything that I've always wanted it will be. I'm honestly not too worried. I will update once, I'll update on how I feel once it's over with. See you guys then.